I'm just going to pick right up where we left off in the previous video on how to add a table to your HTML page. And the first thing I want to show you is how to add grid lines. So if I render the page here, just one more time, just so you see it, this is what I'm getting. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3 rows, 1, 2, 3 rows, and the first one I have is header row so that it's going to bold these items by default. But what would be helpful is to see some grid lines. So to add styling, you're going to want to go to your head tag, and right after my title here, I'm going to go ahead and add an open style and a closed style. And the next thing you want to do is identify the HTML tags that you're going to attach the style to. So I'm going to attach it to the table, comma, right? I'm going to create a list here, the TH, comma, and the TD. So for these three, I want to attach the very same styling. So it's open braces, closed braces. Now, hopefully before this video, you've watched the basic CSS video. And that should give you a feel for syntax. But now what do I want to do? So I want to change the border. And how do I know that? Well, I did some research in W3 schools, and I'll take you over there in a moment so you can see what I'm looking at. But the border is the key word for changing the grid lines, for adding the grid lines. And the way this goes is there are 3 items that it requires, that this property requires. The first is the thickness of the line. So I'm going to do 1 pixel to start. Space. The second item is the type of line, and that is solid, and then space. And then the third is what color. And I'm just going to do black right now. Okay, semicolon at the end. So those are the 3 characteristics I want to add. I'm going to save it and render my page again. See if it'll pull it up so that I can just see it right here. Okay, and so you can see what happened. So it's 1 pixel in thickness, and you can see that it created a grid line around the cell and then also around the whole table. Now, if I want to collapse those so that there's only 1 line and I'm not getting duplicates, there's a way to do so. So we're still in the table THTD, right? So now the next property I would use is called border dash collapse. Again, it's really important you get the syntax correct here, meaning you have to spell it exactly as it is expected. The border collapse would be collapse. Okay, so that's going to combine wherever you saw a dupe. The other thing I want to do, just to experiment with you, is change this pixel size. So let's change it to 3 pixels and maybe change the color as well. Change it to blue, just so you can see some variations. Okay, and you can see that the lines now are not duplicated, and that's a little bit easier to read, even though that's not maybe the best color to use. So I want to show you where I found this information, and what I would suggest is if you head over to W3 schools, and I believe I put this in your resources folder, you can go over to HTML, you can go over to CSS. There's so much out there, but start with HTML. So if you click on Learn HTML and you go over to Tables, right here, Tables, and then scroll down. So it gives you a couple sample tables, and if you try it yourself, it renders the page for you so you can see. But here is the adding a border. So it gives you the CSS and how to do so, right? So it's the table, THTD, all 3 tags. You want to affect them all at the same time so that you're creating borders around all 3 things. And here's the collapse that we talked about. So you can do a little more research on how to center a line, create some spacing, etc.